Jeremiah was called by God to minister during the time of the Babylonian exile, and so his message was to prepare people for that judgment. And there's a verse in Jeremiah 1 that says that God is calling Jeremiah to be a prophet to the nations, to tear down and to build up, to uproot and to plant. And so really a large part of his ministry and his message at the beginning is to warn the people about the judgment that's coming. And the people of Israel are going to lose the promised land, and the nation of Judah is going to go away into exile. Then after that, and after God's brought the judgment, there's going to be a restoration where God makes a new covenant with his people. God gives them the ability to obey him so that he'll never have to judge them again. I think the book really divides into three sections. You have Jeremiah's message of judgment in chapters 1 to 25, and he's warning them that God's going to bring judgment. Exile is coming. They have the opportunity to repent at the beginning of the book and at the beginning of his ministry, but the people really don't respond to that. Jeremiah's most famous sermon is probably his temple sermon in Jeremiah 7, and he tells the people that if they'll change their ways and if they'll make things right with God and do what he's called them to do, that he'll spare them from judgment. But when they reject that message, God says to Jeremiah, don't even pray for these people. I'm not going to rescue them. I'm not going to deliver them from the judgment. The second half of the book is in chapters 26 to 45, and they're really more stories from Jeremiah's life. And they're not really there to give us a biography about Jeremiah's life. They're there more to document for us how the people of Judah, their kings, their leaders, their prophets, didn't listen to the warnings and they didn't obey the message. And so the exile was coming not because God failed the people of Judah, but really because they hadn't responded to the word. And so all sorts of things happen to Jeremiah. He's persecuted, he's thrown into a well, he's put in prison, he's kidnapped, he's taken away to Egypt. And through all of this, even when the exile comes, the people are not obedient, they're not responsive to the message. The last part of the book, in chapters 46 to 51, focuses more on how God will judge the nations. And particularly, he's going to judge Babylon after God has used Babylon to be the instrument of judgment against Judah. And so God ultimately is going to make things right. I think to see the ultimate significance of Jeremiah, the message of hope that's at the very center of the book in chapters 30 to 33, where Jeremiah promises that God's going to restore the people. He's going to bring them back to the land. And for us as Christians, probably the most important passage, the Lord's going to make a new covenant with the people of Israel, where he's going to forgive them for their sins in the past, and he's going to write the law in their hearts so that they'll be able to obey him and follow him. And ultimately, that's what leads us to Christ, because Jesus is the one who makes that new covenant possible. So I think the message of Jeremiah essentially is judgment is coming, the Lord is going to tear down the nation, but there's also hope for the future, because there's going to be a restoration and there's going to be a new covenant, and ultimately that comes through Jesus.